the third, the artist, founder, and the president of the ONYXCON Foundation. You know what I'm saying? What it is, what it ain't, what it gonna be like. Yo, I am going live today to talk with y'all about one of the many topics of ONYXCON, what we call relationship goals in the art life. And I'm going to focus on specifically traveling abroad with the intent of romance. Okay, you trying to find somebody special abroad, things of that nature. Now, I've covered this topic before, and I've had evidence of living that life in multiple. Technically, if it wasn't a direct part of my travel vlog content, it was a part of it. Kind of in a sidebar from just something, maybe I was looking for a lady when I was in a country, or had the intention of meeting somebody and things didn't work out or whatever, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? All right, peoples. All right. Yes. We are back. Got that work. Now we can get busy. Giving y'all this other work, giving y'all this other content. You feel what I'm saying? Let's go. So anyway, so I was saying, being a single gentleman, give you a little bit of background, which I say this every time I talk about relationship goals in the art life. So, but I never assume that my audience is not new people. I get a lot of new people over here, so I'm proud of that. And I'm happy to know that I got a lot of new folks. So I always want to reintroduce myself every time. And, just think about that too. If you're considering doing YouTube, like if you don't have the discipline to introduce yourself every day, because you don't have to go live every day, but it would behoove you, one of my favorite words, it would behoove you to do so if you're doing the intent of getting monetized and stuff, because you get more subscribers from going live. I find people like to see who it is behind the content. They want to get to know you. People want to feel like, oh man, that's my buddy there. That's my YouTube friend I like to watch. Whatever. You become a lot of friends, uncles and things to people all over the world. People who want to relate to people on different levels. You know what I'm saying? And that's why they call it social media. So ain't nothing wrong with that as long as everybody's respectful and treating people with the right regards, which is why I don't even allow anybody but my supporters to even comment. That's another little tip. If you don't want to have to deal with trolling, be zero tolerance. I do not allow conversation from nobody who don't come correct. And as I've been implementing that for about half a year now, because there was one time I used to just have it open and anybody could talk, and I was like, man, some crazy people out here that really don't care about their existence. Now I said, let me not go into that side of my mind. Let me make sure I stay on the right side of life. And as soon as I started pushing the right buttons and setting up everything where can't nobody say nothing, I was like, oh, it's wonderful being on YouTube, because all they can do is sit in their own doo-doo and watch. So anyway, today's topic, like I said, is going to be about relationship goals in the art life, and especially when it comes to seeking romance abroad, which more and more, you can find it all over YouTube, is becoming a universal thing. Like, not only Americans going abroad to find their mates, but people coming, not necessarily meeting us here, but wanting to meet us there in their countries or anywhere else abroad to make connections. You have people who, travel, everybody else travels too. People who are well-to-do or have the finances to do so one way or another. Okay, they figure it out. We all go. We find a way to go, right? And so I'm saying you could be, and then there's, political reasons people have moved to other countries. I remember when I was in Mexico, I kept running into all these fine Argentine ladies. Oh my God, I met like 5, 6. They was all beautiful. And there's there's about 2 that haunt my memory, but one in particular, because I always regret that I didn't get her number and try to see what I could get going, because she was a sweetheart, just a total sweetheart. But here's what it is: you live and you learn, and that's the whole goal of all this content, is edutainment, entertainment, and education. So I was inspired to do this topic today. As like I say, it's not the first time. I've been down this road many times, but I have reserved stories in detail, and I still will reserve, out of respect for anybody who's been a part of my life, But there was a guy who I found online. His name is Travel Time with Ryan. So shout out to him. I usually don't like to mention people's channels until I've had some kind of rapport with them. I've never had one conversation with this brother. I did comment under the video that made me follow his channel. And hopefully he'll get back to me. That was earlier today. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, I mean, this is all fresh in my head. And it was a very sad story, but I give it to the brother, man. He broke it down. He talked about a situation he went through in República Dominicana, okay? He frequents Dominican Republic, and he got a lot of connections there from travel. And that's what happens if you visit a place more, you know, like anything. You visit a lot, you start knowing people, you got friends on the ground, you got connections and stuff. Like right now, I only been once, but I do have people I could connect with in Dominican Republic. And I feel like if and when I go again, I will definitely have a better trip than even my first trip, because the first trip had a lot of trial and tribulation to it, but at the same time, some triumph. I always say it was the ultimate bounce back trip. I mean, it went from hell to heaven in one trip. And it did so like 3 different times. It was crazy. It was like, how many times in one trip? One, like, I mean, we're talking about like a 6-day trip at max, something like that. I was like, how many? It was like 1 to 2 days. Every other day there was something to be you know, and then it balanced out, I'd say, for about 4 days. And then at the very last day, it got a little weird, but it's okay because it still balanced out by the time so I was like, man, this is, it was a real life lesson. I don't regret that trip. It was very important in my life. That trip plus Malaysia have been the biggest lesson driven how to travel trips. I mean, every trip taught me something else about travel. My middle one, the one in the middle of the sandwich, was Mexico, the Yucatan. Went to Playa del Carmen and stayed there most of my time, but you know, came in Cancun like most people. Everybody, you gotta come through Cancun airport to get to these areas. And then you take a bus or whatever type of transportation to get to Playa del Carmen. So yeah, I went through all of those things. But what I was gonna say is, when I was watching this brother's channel, he was telling this story, and he said the title of the thing was something like Dominican lady gets gets $30,000 out of me and then ghosts me. I said, damn, what the, whoa. Hell of a good title to be you know, talk about clickbait. I ain't gonna front. That title got me. They say titles and thumbnails are sort of the #1 things you can use on YouTube to get people to pay attention and watch your stuff. It worked, brother. It wasn't your thumbnail as much as that. That title was crazy. I said, no, hell no. So it taught me a lesson about it. Like, even when I do this, if I decide to put a thumbnail and a title on this video, I'm gonna come up with something really crazy, because it works. They're gonna check it out. And the thing is, he didn't have a whole bunch of cutaways or anything. Like, he has other videos where he does cutaways, B-roll, you see the place, you see the vibe. This wasn't even that. This was just literally him talking, walking around in a parking lot through the whole video telling this story. But the story was so good and crazy, you watch it. I mean, like, I know I did. I mean, some people ain't got no patience. They ain't gonna finish nothing in life. But if I got time, I'll make time for something that's interesting. And this was interesting to me because I could relate to the brother's pain and what he went through. I didn't go through, I've never been drained of those kind of finances. Hell, I've never had those kind of finances to put into travel yet. All right, like, each of my trips has never cost me, each one individually has never cost me more than 5, maybe 6,000 max. And even that, you know, you had to bounce some stuff off a credit card and stay in debt forever afterwards and all that old kind of craziness. And it wasn't even with the intention of being in debt. It's just things happen, and then you gotta have emergency flights, emergency hotel. That's what happened in Dominican Republic. That's why I call it the bounce back trip. That trip scarred me financially, but it's all good. I'm old enough to know how to put a Band-Aid on things and work until you get it back right. So we're gonna get back right. We're gonna be all right. And we gotta stay positive. You know what I'm saying? You can't fall into that depression. You ain't gonna do nothing. So you gotta stay progressive about everything you're doing. So this cat told this story, and this video is not gonna be about my impression of what he had to say as much as how I related to what he went through with the arguments with this young lady he was falling in love with. You know, he was honest. He was transparent. He wasn't trying to beat his chest and be some macho man, acting like I'm, you know, no F's given. heartless. I ain't got no feelings. All I care about is hit and quit. You know, he wasn't talking none of that silly, immature garbage that most men and women in America these days be talking in the dating scene, acting like, you know, they heartless and they call themselves savage and all this other retarded stuff of this newer generation that I can't stand to hear. You know, he wasn't on none of that BS. This brother was being honest with his audience about, and he said it. He kept saying through the whole thing, he said, I know that's crazy, but I'm being transparent. I said, man, that alone gets you respect in my book, because so few people are doing that nowadays. They want to front. They want to get on, and that fronting is why things are crazy. It's why people are getting drugged and robbed and killed in other countries and all. He being honest about stuff he been through. I mean, I even saw another video, not to run on too many of these things, but he went into another video where he was talking about that this girl was trying to scam him, and he just would not let her scam him. She was trying to get in his hotel. She was obviously a working girl. He didn't realize that until after the way she was coming at him, and it was a mess. I ain't gonna even watch his channel, man. Give the brother some love over there. He relatively new from what I could see of his channel, but he's booming. He got some numbers already. I mean, hell, he got more than I do. So salute, man. Congratulations. He got like 3,000 plus. I'm at half of that. You know what I'm saying, roughly, so to speak. So I'm happy to see anybody growing with their channel, because I know how hard it is to get these numbers we all striving for. So the ultimate part, like I say, was him at the end of the video. He said, man, I learned so many lessons from that relationship. And when things, you know, they ended up breaking up, but they stayed cool. But the sad part is, you could tell he still had feelings for this young lady, because he said he was still every now and then helping her out. I was thinking to myself, you don't send nobody money that you just don't give a damn about no more. When you done, you done. So he still got feelings, but at the same time, I think those feelings were just, it sounded to me, you know, my perspective, that he was just simply, you know, he's lingering on the good times, and that alone gives him the grace to give her some help every now and then when she reach out. But other than that, he generally is done with this person, and I can feel that feeling. I know that feeling. I don't know the one that would still be sending money, but I do know that feeling of you still wish this person would have become something else that they're not, and maybe y'all could be something special to each other for a long time. And so anyway, there was a so like I said, the ultimate statement he said, the best lesson he said was that, you know, people are people everywhere in the world. So just know that. And you won't go into anything when you think, oh, I'm escaping America and all the drama we got here, and everything's going to be perfect over there. No, you will get, here's what I say about dating abroad. I say the grass can be greener. I said can be greener. No if, and, or but about it. This is what pisses off, you know, the flaky, crazy, completely unaccountable, no accountability, no logic types in America that think, well, you from here, so you're going to have to come home after you finish playing over there, and we'll be waiting for you with our bad attitudes and we want money, and all we care about is your wallet, and blah, blah, blah. You're going to see they going to drain your ass too, baby. You know, you hear all that kind of nonsense online, right? It can be true both ways, but I'm going to tell you something. Like I said, the grass can be greener. You can, and I ain't talking from I'm talking from experience. I'm talking about per capita. I'm talking about, you know, real percentages. Like when you say you walk down the street in an area where there's enough singles for you to notice what the environment is like and what the health of the people are and things of that nature. And I'm gonna tell you from experience, from Malaysia to Mexico to República Dominicana, okay? Compared to, just speaking of, for one example, Atlanta, Georgia, where I'm at. I'm in the metro ATL area, and I go to town. So when I say go to town, I'm saying I go into the city at least a few, because I don't live in the city. But when you're from Atlanta, you're from Atlanta. It's like being in LA, and you could be living in Altadena, but if somebody asks you where you're from, well, they might know now because of what happened with the fire. It's sad to say, respect for everybody still getting over that. Much love to Altadena, because I actually know people there. But I'm saying, you know, like if you were in a situation like that, you don't tell people, yeah, I'm from Altadena. They ain't gonna know what that is. You say Pasadena, they might know, but then even then, they might know that just because of the Rose Bowl and stuff. But then to really put it in perspective, you just say LA, and they be like, oh, okay, because it is LA County. It's like, that's all they gonna know, man. They don't understand that. And they don't have to, you know? So anyway, when I say that to say, I'm saying if you go on the Beltline in Atlanta, there's different parts of it. It's a huge system of a walking trail that pretty much covers the whole city. But certain parts of the hot spots, like near Ponce de Leon, anybody from Atlanta know what I'm talking about? I go walking over there all the time. Plenty of young, single, fine women up and down the Beltline. Any time of day, any day of the week, you gonna see some faces, right? But I promise you, in comparison, if I were in Playa del Carmen, all right, on 5th Street, which is like the most touristy area and everything, the hot spot, so of course, everybody's kind of culminating there as far as the single vibe, if any at all, because there's a lot of families too, right? Which is the same on the Beltline. You're gonna see a lot of families, a lot of coupled up couples. You're gonna see everything. But in my opinion, I'm gonna count at least 5 to 10 times more what I consider baddies, what I consider physically beautiful, in shape, nice face. I'm talking about from petite to curvy, but never overweight. Like curvy, you got a little chunk, but but I see you got it. You're gonna be way more of that in all 3 of the places I've been in the world, in the hot spots. Notice how I'm putting this. I'm not saying you go with everyday people working hard. That look the same everywhere in the world, to be honest with you. Oh man, this signal, people, this happens every time. It is, at least all I can say for YouTube is its system is strong enough to hold. And like if you have a problem with your phone, my phone try to overheat every time. I gotta make up something to shield the sun over my phone, since it's so close to the dash on a bright sunny day. And these spring and summer days get so warm in Atlanta that the dash area just fries the phone and it's so weak. I can't stay alive. Oh, yeah, I hate that. For what we pay for these damn phones, I don't even want to hear it. I'm like, that's bullshit, man. You always talking about what this phone made out of and how amazing it is, but then the damn thing man, I don't even hear that. It ought to work. You ought to be able to throw this damn thing in a fire. Your case melt off, the phone's still there. You understand? That's what I understand about what this thing costs. Seriously, stop playing. Stop playing. Everybody else who feel me, hit the love button now for that, right? And subscribe for that. Where you gonna get that kind of real talk? I ain't loyal to none of these companies. They ain't doing nothing for my bottom line until they do. You understand? Until Apple is putting in on ONYXCON, I'll talk about any of them. I don't give a damn who. They ain't loyal to none of these companies, man. None of them. Samsung, what's the other? Android. I don't care. They all let that mug get a little bit hot. I'm dying. Weak ass. Anyway, listen. As I was trying to finish my thoughts, so basically, when you're dealing with the long distance thing, like I say, the grass can be greener. You can find finer, more in shape, the epitome of the exotic look that most of us are chasing all our life. And maybe you want to know what I mean by that. I'm saying everybody understands one thing in America. Whatever looks like somebody you don't normally see is exotic. Whatever looks like you're more taking care of yourself, you got nice teeth, you got a beautiful smile, your skin is damn near perfect. No one's shit is flawless. It's impossible. That doesn't exist. But I'm saying when you look like you take care of yourself, and when it's culturally a norm for everybody to take care of themselves to the point where, man, most of the young folks, even the older folks might look better than most older folks in some parts of America. I'm telling you from experience. I'm not saying everywhere. If you're in poverty areas, poverty is poverty everywhere around the world. Poverty look like poverty everywhere it is. It's always the roughest side of a thing. But I'm talking about in the areas where I'm going to be any damn where. The safer areas, okay, there are finer, more in general. I'm not saying we got some of the most gorgeous women in the world in America. And a lot of them are from other places. America's a melting pot. Come on, we got people from other places that make this place really look good. Because, seriously. We all mix. We all got other stuff in us. We all got a lot going on. That'd be the combination for a good look in my world, in my perspective. Views and opinions expressed by yours truly are just those of mine, not necessarily those of ONYXCON's affiliates, associate sponsors, etc. Right? But the bottom line is, because of what I'm saying, once you get past looks and the healthiness physically and all that, once you get past the physical and deal with the mental, like I said, grass can be greener. But people are people all over the world. And add to that the ultimate phrase, hurt people hurt people. Hurt people will hurt people. People who've been hurt, and everybody's been hurt. But the thing is, it's a choice whether or not you're going to continue the hurt factory or if you're going to get some therapy, you're going to get some help. Therapy don't have to cost either. I'm big on therapy. I don't have nothing wrong with professional therapy. I've had some in my lifetime. I'm proud to say I've had some. I'm not from the generation, oh, I ain't going to see no shrink. And you know, that's my parents' era. I ain't them. I love them, but I'm not from that era. You know? I'm not from that era. I'm from the era where, yeah, we go get therapy when we can afford it, you know? And I've had it. And it's a great thing when you can afford it. If you can, great. But you also should have, this is why you got to pick your friends and your family and the family you keep close tight, because if you got them for therapy, they need to be people who you should be listening to, not more messed up than you trying to tell you something. You know what I'm saying? A drunk friend that always going to jail and shit telling you how to get sober. Does that make sense? No, hell no. Right. So it's just the same kind of logic that's got to be used in making sure you take care of your mental health. And I find that all over the world, that ranges. Because the first situation I dealt with, where I felt these feelings for a young lady abroad, and this was back during COVID and everything. And I told this story in brief before, but I never got into, and again, I'm not going to get into full details out of respect for it, because I still have respect for what we had. It was special. And that, you know, my memories and what it was when it was at its best will remain for my life. I'll always be proud of the best that I was able to build with that person. But at the same time, I ain't forgot none of the nonsense. You know what I mean? And so, you know, I think I know it's mainly, it's two things happened. That video today, watching that brother, that I could relate to what he went through, that hit hard to think about it. And for him to be that open and honest made me think, man, I think I could do the same and people might be feeling me. So I might want to share my story a little bit more than I have already. And then the other thing would be, after seeing the show Forever on Netflix, if you haven't seen it, oh my gosh. I got to do an official video. I got clips and stuff. I just ain't sat down and had time enough to edit that one. And that's one of them that I got to edit just right, do the voiceover, really make it nice. I don't want to half do that or just lightly do that. I don't do nothing half-ass, but I'm saying some videos are meant to be light. That's a heavy. I got to go hard on that. I got to make sure that thing is as classic as the show is. It deserves the respect of being spoken of and highlight. I need all my notes on the side so I can name the actors. I gotta have my stuff right when I talk about Forever, because that was one of the best love stories about growing up and falling in love that I've seen in a long ass time. And I mean, just as far as just a show that was binge worthy, I haven't binged nothing that hard in a long time. I'm serious. I've not sat down and dedicated time. I mean, it was 2 days. I binged it quick too, but I'm saying, ain't nobody about to get no 2 days of binge time out of me. I'll get back to it when I get, you know, I stretched that out over a month, but no, I sat down and watched that thing, y'all. It was amazing. It was amazing. It quite frankly is amazing. And so that being inspiration, and like I say, what this brother went through, what he had to say kind of sparked the flame again. So I want to kind of tell my story. And oh man. All right, y'all. We're going to work through it as we always do. Bear with me. And I appreciate you still being here. So here's what it do, right? I took my first ever passport stamp trip to Malaysia in 2022. And so the way that came together, and the only reason why, or the primary reason I wanted to go, was I met a lady online on a dating app. Because I would do international, and I still do international searches when I'm on dating apps. I never limit myself to what's going on in my time. Yes, y'all. So yeah, y'all. And I'm trying to keep this thing under 40 minutes. I was about to say 30. Ain't no use in me lying. I know how I talk. We're going to see how far we get. Let's go. I might have to slice this video up later, edit it, just to make sure y'all be watching it and really give it the deserved time it needs to get this whole story together. But basically, I was speaking to a young lady online. She was in Malaysia. And like I say, I had not really had my first ever true passport stamp international trip. Because there's another lesson I'll tell all my young folks or anybody. Get your passport. That's number one. If you have anything in you that wants to travel, just get it. It's going to make the cost of getting the passport, which is $100, I forget how much it is, but it's going to make you want to use it. You'll be like, man, I ain't spend that money for nothing. And the first time I got my passport, I did just that. I was still in my marriage that I got divorced from, and it was just out of fear of not being able to move if we wanted to move and get to Canada or Mexico, because they made that rule about you had to have a passport way back. So if you know when that first got implemented, that's how far back that was when we first got passports, right? But we never used them. So by the time I was divorced and I decided, man, I got to use it. I got to do it. Literally the year I went to decide I'm about to buy my flight, oh no, you got to have your passport renewed, because you had to get it renewed like so many months ahead of use. And I was within that window of now you need a new one. So I literally had bought one and never used it for nothing. That was a feeling that was so empty, I can't explain it. I've made it up since with these trips I've been on, but at the same time, I think that's even another reason why my first trip was so symbolic to me, because I went so far. I wrapped the globe. I went 24 hours difference time, literally. Like if it's 4 o'clock here p.m., it's 4 o'clock a.m. there, like literally, so when you take that kind of trip, it changes you. I promise you. It's a different kind of travel, and to me it's like black belt level, top tier. And I remember telling one of my buddies that has like 40 trips or something. He said, you done lapped me. I said, how the hell could I lap you? Like running laps like you done passed me on the course of life, on this journey of running, if you will. And I was like, how the hell could I ever pass you, bro? 40 trips deep, or however many he got, 30 something, I don't know. He up there. I'm like, and then I thought about what he really meant, at least what it meant to me, is he saying, dude, I'm impressed. Like, congratulations, man, ain't it? I done been someplace. I ain't never went that damn far. I'm like, I feel you. I mean, I literally feel you. Like, I still have the jet lag, That's how it was. Like, that was kind of fresh off of the trip. So, but it all came together because I was talking to her during COVID situation, all right? We were all inside. We couldn't go nowhere. It was right on, this like I say, 22 is when I went, but we met in 21. And we literally just from the first conversation to every day thereafter, we would check in with each other. We always had good rapport. I'm honest and upfront with her from the beginning about me not, wanting just no platonic friendship. I wanted an intimate connection. I wanted a romantic relationship. I want a sexual connection with you if I ever meet you. I made that very clear. I wasn't on no, I don't play them games. And to all my young folks out there trying to figure out life and everything, if you got a bunch of goofy dudes around you who you notice always may keep some women in their life, but they always falling out with them, and they always got these ugly situations. They the ones getting their tires slashed and bricks through their window. Yeah, because they're not telling women the truth about what their intentions are. Always be upfront. Always be honest about what the hell you want, and you will get the quality over the quantity. If you want the quantity, yeah, you're going to get the quantity, but you're going to end up also with a bunch of baby mamas, a bunch of drama, a bunch of psychotic behavior in your life. And you're going to lose your mind with all the stress it brings, okay? Don't try and be them weak-ass players. Be a real-ass man and tell women where you stand. From day one, these are what my finances are. You got to tell everybody, your whole bank account or all your research, but I'm saying you kind of let them know, this is my limit. So don't even come around here talking about, I better pick you up in a Lambo and you better take me to only white cloth and candlelight dinners. And if that's what is important to you, we done already. Bye-bye. That's how you got to be. And I promise you it'll save you time and stress. Okay? So she appreciated that. Again, the grass can be greener. The grass can be greener. Because for a lot of American women, not all, It ought to just put it like this. Anything I say about how a lot, I ain't speaking of all. So if you're the rare exception and you looking at this getting hot in the head, you ought to hit my DMs, baby, because you might be the one I need to talk to. If you like, I'm not like that at all. Well, then hello, what's up? What it do? What's good? But otherwise, then yeah, I'm talking to yo simples, you know. So yeah, we had a connect from the beginning, and it just flowed. It really did. It genuinely flowed. It had a good vibe to it, and we became friends, you know, as pen pals, super fast. Like, you know, within a week or whatever, we already, you know, talking freaky and being fun in that frisky way and all that. And then over time, you know, and this was not the kind of lady to be sending nudes and things of that kind of thing. None of that, you know, okay? It was not that kind of vibe at all. Now, you know, as we got to know each other, yeah, gates open, but that's after you done put in enough time that you know you can trust me, I trust you, all of that, you know, and then everybody's doing what adults gonna do consensually when you're that far away from each other, right? But we had a longing to meet, a very deep longing to meet. We knew that we were building a vibe. We had talked so long and got so close. If you ever had that experience, you know what I'm talking about. If you ain't, you can't relate. It's okay. It ain't for everybody. This is a very unique mental state that only applies to those who can handle the weight. You know, I don't advise anything long distance to anybody who just don't have discipline, quite frankly. If you just everything's fast food in your life, including what you eat, this ain't for you, okay? So by the time 2022 came in and things started to change where countries were opening back up, we saw that there was a possibility Malaysia was about to open back up. That got me excited. That got me saying, oh, snap. I think this is going to actually happen. I can actually figure out a way to meet this lady, right? So I literally went into planning mode months ahead, knowing what my deadline would hopefully be for a trip. And I told her my plans. And we just, you know, slowly but surely, every day would encourage each other that it's going to happen. Try to stay positive no matter what we were going through in our personal lives and stuff, because we both got family stuff. We both got work. We got, you know, life. Life is lifing, even though the clock is spinning on this dream of us meeting and all that, right? So I will say, if you know anything about Malaysia, and particularly the capital, I'll say she was near. I'm not going to get all the specifics. Like I said, I'm keeping people's business, most business, their business. But she was in the region, just like I'm in the region of Atlanta, but I don't live in the city. She was in the region of KL, Kuala Lumpur, which is the capital. And Kuala Lumpur is beautiful and amazing as something. It's one of them things you need to see if you like travel. It's one of them to put on your list. Malaysia as a whole. I feel like in that one trip, I only got a taste of what it could be, because there's no way you could really feel like you know that country in as short of a trip as I took. You know, technically my trip was only 11 days, and you can basically cut off 2 of them days with travel because of the time involved, you know? So you're really more down to 9 days, right? And so like I said, KL area, Kuala Lumpur, and, you know, we visited some other areas because I wanted to go fishing. I always go fishing. That's my thing. Wherever I go, I gotta get a hook wet. I gotta drop a line. I gotta catch something. That's the dream. That's the ambition. That's the passion, amongst many other things. Just outdoors in general, you know, and cultural experiences. Naturally, I love all of that. As an artist, I love seeing public art. I love seeing the juxtaposition of the old meets the new. We went to the Batu caves. Okay, the traditional Hindu temple built into an actual cave that is absolutely phenomenal. If you've ever seen people's pictures or videos talking about that, it's everything they say it is. And the monkeys are cute, but do not touch, and keep your phone close to you because they will grab your shit. And don't bring no food unless you're trying to give it to them, because they taking everything, okay? They for real about that. Yeah, the macaques, I forget exactly the type they are, but there's a certain type of macaque monkey they have that are sacred because in essence they are symbolic of Hanuman, the monkey god in Hinduism that represents so much. And a lot of that's a whole nother bag of history that I'll just say briefly because I do know it. If you ever look up the story of coming to the West and how that part of Hindu culture and Hanuman connects to Chinese culture, because so much of their spirituality borrowed directly from Hinduism. And if you didn't know, it is true, absolutely true. And even though some might deny it, but real scholars would know. Chinese scholars that are serious about their history would know and be honest about that. Others would try to deny it and act like, Chinese people just fell out the sky and made everything themselves, everything about them themselves. But that's not the truth of anybody on this planet. Everybody is connected, but also there are people who were before other groups in the development of humanity, and that's just a fact. It's just the way we are. Anyway, but that even is important to mention because, there's three main groups. You have the Chinese, are very big there. The Malay themselves, the country's named Malaysia, but the Malay are actually a mixed, like everybody's mixed, but I mean, they are truly very, very mixed, but they are a ethnicity in and of themselves from all their, centuries of mixing and everything, right? But with that, they come with all kind of looks and everything, just like you got all kind of looks for Chinese. But then most of the Chinese that are there are from the Han, H-A-N, the peoples that you find all over the world. When most people think of Chinese that look a certain, phenotype, that would be the group, okay? And then you have a lot of Tamil and other South Indians, okay? South India is big, but they are unfortunately, treated like the lowest on the totem pole. And quite frankly, treated like black folk have been through the same kind of trauma in America. That's how Indians are in Malaysia, straight up. And if you don't believe what I'm talking about, look up racism against Indians in Malaysia. You're going to be blown away with the stuff you see. Because what makes it bizarre is you got the Indians at the bottom of the totem pole, the Chinese in the middle as this buffer race, so to speak, okay? I mean, we're talking ethnicities here, when you're on nationalities and ethnicities when I say China, but the Han group, okay, and then in the top of it you got the Malay, which are ethnic hodgepodge, which actually includes genetic bloodlines of all these people. Like literally, they got that'd be another thing they might deny because they got this mess. Like the Malay, of all the different groups who went through the country, the ones that took the most influence were the Muslim influence. So they're a Muslim country, okay? And even that's pretty fascinating to see on the level of rules and regulations and regard for that throughout the country that you will hear, see, and find everywhere, okay? But you also see Buddhist shrines and things of that nature in addition to mosque. You also see Hindu temples and Hindu shrinery and things. So it's a 3 times weighted cultural experience when you're there, plus immigrants from everywhere in the world. But mostly those big 3 are the big 3 for real. Everybody else is the sprinkles. Like there are Africans straight from the continent, from a lot of students, and then there's also the sometimes unfortunately true scamming population of groups that have come from either parts of West Africa, like Nigerians, or Sudanese that may have one time been students, couldn't make it as students, turned into unsavory practices and scam and stuff. And a few bad apples spoiled a bunch for the identity of all those groups because people looking at them like they the riffraff automatically. And it's like, no, not everybody is on that BS. Just like how it always is with that kind of stuff in the world. But I'm giving you the picture so you can kind of feel some of the energy of what I encountered when I got there. But the important part of it with the love story, like I say, is that I had been building this friendship with this lady for the longest. Now, we had our little riffs. We had been talking so long. Imagine you talking to somebody long enough that it literally becomes a year of phone. Because like I said, you can't really go nowhere. You ain't outside. You ain't in the streets. You ain't at the club. None of that stuff was normalized again until certain times in 2022, even here. And so because of that, and then I'm not a club person nowhere. I don't, whatever. I don't give a damn about no club. So for me, like just having a social life in general was going fishing, talking to my friends on the phone, checking in with family. That was it. That's about all you could do. At least that's the way I roll. Now, I did try to still find somebody here. It just wasn't happening. Even when I was talking to her, we made it clear, look, talk to who you want to. As far away as I am, there's a chance I may never see you. If you meet somebody, that's fine. If I meet somebody, that's fine. And our Constitution said, I always say you have a personal constitution between you and somebody when you start dating or trying to date. And I said, yo, if you find somebody, just let me know. If you know you're serious and you don't want to press the issue of meeting me no more because it's not going to be relevant. You got feelings have shifted. You may still care about me. You like me. But yo, that's the big fantasy, and this is the reality where I'm at. I met somebody here. And the same goes for me. I said, the other thing we made a rule, we said, look, if you want to stay in touch, stay friends, even stay the possibility of intimate friends in the future. Unless that new person in your life literally is somebody serious enough for you to close it down, don't ghost me. And don't ever ghost me anyway. Just let me know, hey, I got to move on. But it's been wonderful, and I really appreciate you. You know, and hell, who knows? I might get free again. I might be single again, and you can come right back around, and I got the door ready to take the knock. Like, what's up? Old friend, where you been, right? That was the goal. That's how we approached this thing once we knew we were feeling each other. And like I said, we made a rule. He was like, I don't even want to know it. And I remember this was how she said it. She was like, I don't even want to know about it if you meet somebody you want to be intimate with. Which at that point I knew, okay, I know I got feelings and you got feelings too, but she's the type who's like very clingy and possessive and all that. And I respect it, but at the same time, I look at it like it's unrealistic at this distance. Like, hell, like you can't really cling to nothing. There's nothing to cling to. It's like, you know, it's not like you're going to jump in your car and spin the block and be like, I did not tell you to tell me. You know, you can't do nothing. I can't do nothing, you can't do nothing, right? So we were in this situation, and we trying to make the best of it, knowing we're miserable because we want to meet each other. Neither one of us, even though, you know, I told her, like, yeah, I'll still be on dating apps, and every now and then I'll talk to somebody else, but, you know, favorite person. And she could deal with that. At least in the, you know, at that stage she could. Then on her end of it, here's where it gets peculiar, right? If you know anything about Hindu culture, because they can, you know, Indians can be like any other human being. They could be any religion they want to be, but majority are going to be Hindu because it's literally not just a religion. It's like part of the fabric of many Indians' identity. Now, of course, there's the Muslim population too. That exists heavily, always. Got to respect that is a part of it. And Christians. You know, they got all the three deeply. I mean, and hell, you know, people are influenced by what's around them. They can be Buddhist too. They can be anything, but mostly they're going to be Hindu, then maybe Muslim, and then possibly Christian, at least in Malaysia. And I find that to be even true with Indians I've met from India. That what I just said is kind of true. All right. So depending on the region and, you know, city and township, whatever. So now, so she was like very, you know, specific about wanting to make it clear that she did have this pressure on her from her parents. And there was a tradition, you live at home with your parents until you marry and all that. And this woman grown now. It's grown, okay? All right? You know, and not even in her 20s. She's in the next group, okay? Decades, all right? The three O's, you know? But, well, I think when I met her, she was about to turn 30, or was she already 30? I can't even remember now. It's vague in my mind. But bottom line is, she's, you know, she's a breadwinner for family. She's corporate job. She stressed the fuck out with the job. Hated her job. Oh my gosh. I did more therapy for her on that damn job sometimes than I did just making her laugh and have a good time. Like, I gotta work through her mental stress sometimes. It got to the point where sometimes I'd be like, I need to give her a few days to chill out and then come back where she can talk about something fun other than that stressful ass corporate job. But she really, really just enjoyed talking to me, seeing me when we went live, all this stuff. So it made it really hard for us to, you know, ever take a break. I mean, I literally could probably count on one hand, and I wouldn't have all fingers up for the days we didn't send one text or one something or didn't go live or something. Like, we stayed in touch. We would chat with each other throughout the day. We would get through our day together. And it was fun, and it was looked forward to per day. Like, it was a real vibe. Like I said when I said in the beginning, I've mentioned the show Forever on Netflix. Yeah. The more growner version of that would have been how this felt, the way them two was talking constantly, always up under each other, always up. Yeah, it was like that. And so it's no surprise that the feelings grew, and it was what it was. And there was also some red flags. She had this weird, what I consider a joke of a temper. It wasn't a joke. I learned to respect that a temper is a temper, but I know I have a temper, and I reserve that for dealing with the foolishness of men. I sure as hell don't want to bring my wrath on a lady, and if I do, it'll only be verbal. But I wouldn't even want to do that because that's just not gentlemanlike. And the only way that can get to that point is if you've literally pushed all the damn buttons on the piano keys. Like, I don't give a damn. Like, you just really poking the bear. Like, you really, who does that, right? But she had a thing about just flying off on some dumb stuff. And she knew. She would say, she acted like, like a lot of women, all I say, the biggest issue is accountability. Like, you say, I know I have a temper, but you think it's cute. Because you've never been, maybe somebody can cuss you out hard enough for you to think about what they had to say. They wasn't just throwing a bunch of cuss words and calling you a B or something like that. No. They actually told you why you're crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people have never had that, so they only do that because they haven't been checked in a way that's just like, like from every angle to the point where, aren't you embarrassed to have ever even have started this argument? So we would have a few little moments, little hiccups in the road, and it would always be over something so minor that she would always end up apologizing, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, but I'm getting tired of this, that kind of thing. And I summed up from the distance. I said, the only reason you act like that is I ain't right in front of you. And if we went live, she'd be so submissive and coquettish, and I'm sorry, baby, and it won't happen no more, and that kind of stuff, right? I'm like, this one here. So by the time I was actually there, I had finally raised the money. I had to raise the money too. I made this thing part of content. I knew I was going to be making content for ONYXCON, so through sponsorship and all types of everything, plus all of what you see me doing right now, running up and down the road, delivering things, doing all my courier stuff, and going to set movies when I could. All of what I do to make a living, right? I made it. I went to Malaysia. 11-hour layover in Istanbul, Turkey. Good gosh, the longest I've ever in my life sat in the airport. First few hours were okay, even though I was exhausted because the airport is so beautiful. It's a very nice airport, Istanbul, shout out. In Turkey, as they say now. Somebody told me they literally added the E because they got the president didn't want people associating the name of the country with the animal and food, and just was like, no, we are Turkey. So they started putting, I was like, wow, that's branding. Rebrand the country. And I guess it's working to a certain extent because sometimes I hear people say it, but to be honest with you, I only hear it when you on that side of the world. Everybody says, yeah, Turkey. But Turkey, yeah. And then I got to Malaysia and I was exhausted. And I had not taken a shower in a day sitting in the airport. And I was funky and I was miserable. And I'm never funky. But you will be funky, okay? Because it's hot. Damn it, it's hot as hell. It is the hottest smothering heat. It's not even, there's hot and then there's smothering humidity. Malaysia has smothering. It is thick. The air is thick. And then Kuala Lumpur is like, bustling city, motos, as they say in Latin America, motorcycles everywhere. All that stuff in the air, that's bad air. Multiply that with you got smog plus the humidity, man. I'm talking about it's choking. If you ain't drinking water regularly, you're going to freaking die. All right, that's the first strike on psychological damage of what it can do to you to be in these environments and not be ready for what you're going to encounter. Then the culture shock, of course, was a thing because she had warned me, and I give her credit. She'd always said public displays of affection are not a thing here because of the Islam. Please, I know you want to hug me and kiss me and stuff. Just hold back till we behind closed doors. And I'm like, I ain't coming this many miles. When I see you, I'm going to be getting all over you, girl. I'm on my mess. And I never forget when I first met her at the airport and she rolled up to meet me in her car. She did not want to kiss me as soon as I got in the car. And I'm like, are you crazy? I'm in the car with you. Anybody, who cares if they see what we doing inside the freaking car? You crazy? You better bring me them lips, woman. I drove, flew, sat for days to get to you. Mind you, all of this was said playfully, but I was seriously hurt. Like, what the excuse me. And I'll never forget, and then she, mind you, we coming out of COVID and stuff. She had on a mask. I'm like, who the fuck picked you up? I had my shots, right? And so had she. We both were vaccinated. What the hell you wearing a mask for? All of this was very insulting. So now I'm feeling like, man, I'm trying not to take it personal because she's telling me through the mask, like, it's not you. I don't know. I was like, you nervous? I said, whatever. We got to a stoplight and I pulled that thing down softly and I gave her our first little kiss. She loved it and she was all melting in the seat, but then she was like, immediately, that's not our first kiss. We got to have another one. It's got to be better than that. And then we can't just be in the car like this. And I'm like, okay, here comes the perfectionism that I had heard at different times on the phone, but I didn't take it serious because I thought, yeah, in person it'll be different. No, in person, everything that you thought was a red flag is a ultra crimson flag. Okay. Woo! Wow. But so then all the load starts to come. For one thing, like I said, the traditions of somebody's cultural thing, with her growing up in a Hindu tradition, she wasn't very religious, but she still abided by the rules and tried to stick to the codes and just want to make her parents happy and keep people off her about all the traditional stuff that you're supposed to do and whatnot, right? So even to take this trip for me, we had set it up as if she was taking a personal trip to get to, take a break from this stressful ass corporate job. And the goal was for us to meet, have some fun and, get loose, have some time to remember something amazing and epic. And, everybody goes back to what they got to do refreshed, right? But she was very, 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 and I do mean very, tied in with what her parents' pressures were on her. And that's no disrespect to her parents. They just doing what people been doing for decades and centuries. And it's cold, I get it, it's culture, I understand it. But it's really hard to be in when you're the one that's dealing with it and how it's affecting your situation. So she had to finagle some things and pretend it was like, a personal solo trip. But I always knew that. I was like, Dad may have his head in the clouds on purpose, but Mama knew, you're going to meet a man. Whatever. Have your fun. Just don't get caught. Don't embarrass us. That's usually the way with just about every Asian culture. Yeah, I mean, that's across the board, from India to East Asia to just don't embarrass us. We know you're doing what you're doing. Just don't embarrass us. And I think that's pretty, general for everybody. But at the same time, they press it in a whole nother way, right? And so, because of that, I wasn't worried about her lying to me and she actually got a boyfriend or a husband. There was none of that. That was absolutely not the case. But there was this concern of, may not want to go to this area because that's too close to the temple I go to, and somebody might see me and be like, I saw your daughter with this black guy and he wasn't from here. He was tall because everybody here is mostly short. Like, the only tall people I saw when I was there were some of the Indians. Some of them Indians, giants. I mean, occasionally a tall Chinese too. You know how that can go. But not a lot. Not a lot. Like, I was about the tallest thing everywhere I went. And it was hilarious to, have people looking at me like I was a NBA star or a rapper, the typical stereotypes. That it is true that a lot of people will instantly look at you like that's what you must be. Even if it's in curiosity without them saying it. But then when they start talking to you, they want to ask you what you're doing. When you say something that don't fit that, they're kind of looking confused like, and she told me that's how it was, that they're going to think that you are a rapper or a damn basketball player. I said, shit, what a horrible general stereotype. But it's true, it happens. But a lot of people were mostly friendly. And every now and then we would get, the only weird looks we got, like, Chinese mind their business. I know that about Chinese people here. I love my Chinese, the ones that I'm cool with. I can't speak for every individual. I'm just speaking of generally people I've been around that were cool as hell. They don't care. They just don't be sweating you. They don't, you do you and I'm gonna do me. Like, you're not even there. Like, unless you say something to them, and even then, people quick to act like I don't understand English, all that old stuff. But for the most part, they just in their own world. The Malay, same thing. They ain't thinking about you. It's like, they run everything. It's their country. So you walk in a business, more than likely the management is Malay. And if it's not, they reporting to somebody Malay or whatever. And they have that air about them, and they could care less. Only way we got any funky looks, Indians. Indians tripping on her because they looking at her like, why are you with him instead of one of us? And all of that stuff.